Hi, welcome to Lumos Talks, powered by Blindspot, the weekly show on growth and marketing straight from the people on the ground doing the work at some of the most amazing companies. I'm Seb Weber, I'm the ECD at Blindspot, and today we have Hannah, my co-host and producer. Say hi, Hannah.
Hello.
I am very excited about our guest today. A second time Lumos House Lumos Talks guest, I should say. Our guest is Senior Director and Brand and Content at Vayner Speakers, a speakers bureau representing best-selling authors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, thought leaders, and legendary athletes. She spent her career translating culture into commercial results, leading global partner events at TikTok, including their first ever Cannes Lions presence. Contessa, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Good to see
Thank
you.
Good to see you. So you've walked through many different worlds, a global platform, Gary Vee's festival, and now a speakers bureau. Walk us through that path. How did you end up where you are today?
I feel like I've kind of always stumbled into a lot of things. So right out of school, I worked at a bank, which I never thought I would ever do. So I was working in corporate sponsorships and experiential, and that was kind of my first flavor into the world of events and marketing. And I really just fell in love with it. And so from there, I worked on the agency side for a little bit, doing campaigns for Gen Z. I worked over at TikTok, so I led global partner events at TikTok. And funny enough, I met a woman on a plane, which is how I ended up working for Gary and over at Vayner. So you never know where life can lead you. But I think it's always kind of been this through line of I've just been really interested in people and culture. And right now, social is at the forefront of both of those things. And I've kind of always just been interested in following, okay, like what am I curious about right now? And that really just led me to where I am. So it's been a crazy ride, but a fun one to say the least.
What does an event with TikTok look like? What kind of activations were they doing? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so over at TikTok, I mean, during those times, it was still relatively, a new platform, and they were starting to build it out, and we were growing really quickly in New York. So we worked a lot with partners. It was on the partner marketing side. So expanding the platform through partners.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh,
That's awesome.
cool. So yeah, more about culture, marketing, and business, since that's been the things that's like jumbled up within your whole career line. Where does that come from, and how has that shaped the choices you've made?
So for culture and how has that shaped kind of the choices that I've made? Yeah. Well, I mean, if we think about it, like culture is just about people and what are people talking about right now? What are they thinking about? What are they seeing? So it's always just been what's relevant today. That could be the platforms that are relevant today, the conversations that are relevant today. Really, where is people's attention being directed to? And I think really from a young age, I've always been fascinated by psychology and like how to shape messages, but also like what resonates and why. And I feel like when we're talking about how is culture shaping the world, and how is culture shaping marketing, it's really just like what are kind of some of the unspoken things that people are craving nowadays. Like again, we're talking about some of the psychology of it. Like,
Yeah.
where are people gravitating towards right now? A big conversation, just as an example, is live events, because everyone's trying to get off their phones, get back in person, like really start to have, I think, we want to have meaning in our lives, and meaning usually comes from in-person interactions and building together and things like this. So to go back to it, I think, culture is shaped by experiences, and experiences typically happen in person.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Moving at the speed of culture is kind of an ethos for me, and an ethos at Blindspot. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something incredibly wildly intelligent. I've heard the term cultural engineer cropping up more and more and more. It's funny. I think culture is one of those things where culture is one of those things that people overlook. And I'm talking about two types of culture. I'm talking just about general kind of pop culture, and I'm also talking about company culture. But I feel like people now spend more time trying to figure out how to weave culture into their businesses or how to weave culture into their marketing. It takes more work than people realize, right? I've done a lot of it too. I was creative director for Jay-Z and Tidal, and we had a huge, when we bought Tidal, we bought Tidal that was it was a Norwegian company with 500,000 subscribers, and obviously our new owners, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye, Arcade Fire. We were about to have this huge influx of users very, very quickly, and our content was very white middle class, and we had to move really, really quickly but authentically, and you would think that that would be something that you could throw money at and fix it. But in my experience, we had to really culturally engineer our path in a way that was truly authentic. And what I realized is, I think people like you that work in the culture engineering space, it's authenticity is the number one thing that sells. And you have to craft that narrative very strategically, because sometimes those narratives can come off not authentic. And if you don't do that, you've kind of lost what you were going for. So there's no question here. It's more praise about, I understand firsthand how important it is, but also how much work it takes.
Well, it's even like the word authenticity is obviously such a buzzword nowadays that I tell my team, I'm like, what are we talking about when we say authenticity? Like, what does this even mean? But I think I would replace that word with honesty, because I think really what people are looking for is transparency and honesty in a natural kind of human conversational way, right? Like if we see an ad that's like, it's telling, not showing, I think we need to see that reversed. We need to explain things in just a human kind of, that's what we're saying, authentic way. But it's just like, who wants to be talked at all the time on a screen now? Like that's old commercials. They're telling you what to think and what to do. But really it's like, I think what people are craving is just an honest conversation, human to human, like sharing our experiences, sharing where we're at right now. And that for me makes the best marketing, because it's human.
Yeah.
Super true.
And more importantly, the customer or person can instantly tell when it's not authentic, right?
Exactly.
With social media now and the way that we kind of understand nuance, you're absolutely right. The marketing used to be one directional, and now we want more from our consumer brands. We want more from our artists, and we learn their language. That's why nomenclature and the way we talk outwardly as a brand is so important, because people will realize something's wrong without realizing what it is wrong. They'll have an intuition and a gut nowadays, because I think we've trained with social media the idea that people are trained to tell when something doesn't feel real or not. Right, especially now with AI and the way that's creeping into everything. It's an interesting dichotomy.
Well, even like to piggyback off of that, like if I go on LinkedIn, you can really tell who's writing with ChatGPT, all of their LinkedIn posts, and kind of putting out the same stuff over and over. There's a structure to it now. And I think what I find interesting, the marketing that I find interesting, and the people that I want to follow are the ones who kind of like, you can tell that they're just talking, and that conversational tone does come across in the writing. And it's something that can't necessarily be manufactured. Maybe it'll come in the future a little bit better, but like for the time being, you can tell when things are generated by AI. You can tell when things are a little bit off kiltered. And I think the best marketing is still going back to that message of like human centric. It comes from a human.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
I mean, it's changing. It's changing very quickly.
Way too fast.
Tell us about the US bank campaign with Kane Brown. What was the actual problem you were trying to solve, and what didn't work before you landed on the right approach?
Yeah, so that was one of the big campaigns I worked on really like at the start of my career. And it was very cool because it was the first time that the bank had really partnered in that kind of way with a big talent. And so it was awesome and really, really fascinating because we tied in social campaign mixed with community campaign. So a big part of the work was like, how do we get into the communities and really support people on the ground? Like we had Kane come and do like a Habitat for Humanity that got turned into social content, but really at the core of it was like, how can we support and build within a community? And because it was kind of the first time that the bank had ever done something like that, it ended up being a huge success. And, I think a lot of brands, they think about, okay, well, what's the ROI on this marketing, right? And I think for the first time, we really saw this cool transition where we could see the actual ROI coming back from the social results, but also from the business side as well.
That's
Right.
super interesting.
Yeah, and that campaign ended up driving a lot of impressions and like new client acquisition, right? So what moved the needle? Like, was it the artists, the channels, the offer, or something else entirely?
Yeah, I think what really moved the needle there was just a really strong alignment between our audiences. Like Kane's audiences at the time, they were very active, very engaged in their community, a lot of younger folks. And then also with just the community work that the bank was doing at the time, I think it was one of those things that the message resonated at the right time. The right people all came together, and ultimately it ended up supporting the different communities in the ways that were really meaningful.
Super successful campaign, though. That was really great.
Yeah, thank you. Great team that worked on it. So
it's always funny to me when banks move into music. I mean, Amex has been doing it for years. US Bank, Citibank. It can go wrong. The US Bank one obviously didn't go wrong. It was excellent, but I just remember some that in my time where I think Amex did this big thing with Foster the People. I think in like 2014, and the backlash was insane. It was just inauthentic. It was just like we were saying before. It was just completely inauthentic. But sometimes sometimes it hits it out of the park, and I think that was a really, it's great when you find the right. Sorry, this is Mochi, by the way. Mochi. It's either Mochi is on camera,
I was going to say we have another guest on the podcast.
I do. I'm just going to go to my next question. What's the most common mistake you see with brands when they try to kind of borrow culture or a creator, an artist, a moment without doing the work to earn it? Like, what are some of the common mistakes you see with brands trying to like force engineer instead of culturally engineer?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is when brands come in and like, let's just use the example of partnering with an influencer or a creator. They're like, oh, we're so excited to work with you. We can't wait for you to do this back to school campaign. Great. And then the creator goes, oh, well, you know what? I don't have any kids, but maybe there's a cool tie-in. Some of my audiences are women. I think there was a creator who did a video on this recently. And it was kind of this like back and forth where the brand really wanted to own the entire creative process when they wanted to partner also with an influencer to create something new and unique. And obviously the influencer, the creator, has this grounding in culture because of the way that they speak, because of the way that they edit, because of the way that they just like naturally do what they do. And so I think a big problem that I see is when brands come in and they really want to take over versus collaborate.
Right.
And people are successful online because of their authenticity, to your point earlier, Seb. It's because of the way that they honestly just naturally speak to their audiences. So it's very easy for a brand to come in and want to rent the audience versus collaborate and build the audience together.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
That's true. Another one is basically, we know that you've built brand and community, especially inside like, all these platforms, festivals, and now talent business. How does it bring, like, how do you prove that this kind of work brings revenue and not just, for experiences and just the vibes?
So, I mean, the ROI of brand
Yeah.
is like
Long
you
term?
can see it. Yeah, I mean, it's a long-term play. We've started to be able to track, especially through technology, a lot of digital marketing, Google Ads, like all of these things that have come up. Like obviously you can track the ROI in those senses, but when we're thinking about building communities, building a culture online, social platforms, etc., I think the best kind of marketing is word of mouth, and a good brand people will talk about outside of the interaction you might have online. For example, someone on my team sent me Sleep or Die just because they loved the branding and marketing on it. Okay, we had never tried the product. I went to this event and got a sample of the Sleep or Die. It's like for those who don't know it, it's essentially like a melatonin like strip.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Listerine strip, but it has melatonin in it. So it's a sleep aid. You can sleep better at night. So I knew about the brand. I went to an event. I tried it in person and I had the best sleep of my life. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I started telling my friends about it. I was like, well, you guys have to try it, etc. It's the word of mouth. It's what people are talking about to their friends, to their family. I sent it to someone via Instagram, and for me, I've become like a lifelong customer because of it. But you would never be able to tell, through a direct digital ad because I tried it in person, and that was building the brand and the brand experience there, and even the packaging, and it's kind of the ecosystem that you build around your company. And so it's kind of like one of those double-edged swords. I do think that especially in the age of AI, brand is going to be the number one asset for everybody. Because if you think about it, your content you're posting online, social media, your website, blog, etc., that is brand. The more content that you're posting, the higher relevancy you're going to have in these AI models because there's more content for it to pull from. So when we think about it, social, brand, website, brand, that has become the foundation for what makes companies successful because, as you know, in the era of AI right now, everyone is searching, where do I buy XYZ? And if your content is the first to pop up, you're going to win in business.
Yeah, for sure. It was so funny. I get shown a lot of AI tools, and I got shown a tool yesterday that was the first time I was truly impressed. I'm not sure I can say what the name is, but it's not public yet. But it does a brand analysis of your brand. I used Peloton as an example, and then it pulls all the competitors, and then it writes all the ad strategy and the social and creates the images. And I know that sounds like it's going to be terrible, right? Because we know on the daily grind, where AI is.
Mm-hmm.
I was so impressed. They gave it generated 6 months of content in 2 hours. It was like insane. But the problem is you have to be like a legacy brand with enough data out there for it to kind of hit all your data points. And also your competitors need to be pretty big too, because it's analyzing exactly what they do. But it was the first time I was like, I work in content and I should be scared. It's getting the nuance right, and it's getting the attitude right. It's getting the writing right. I remember being in conversations a year ago being like, AI will never replace writers. I haven't used a writer on an ad for the last 6 months. Like, not one of my writer friends have I been like, hey, I need you on this ad right now. It also goes back to your point, though, that the brand narrative is the most important thing. And people want subplots on brands. They want narratives. They want to know what their brand does in its downtime. They want to be sold in on the entire ecosystem. It's not just I don't just sell a vacuum. I want to know why this vacuum was created. I want to know why you spent all this time, I want to know about the guy building the vacuum. And I just, if I'm going to spend $500 on a vacuum now, I want
to have a story.
I better have a bloody story. I don't know how I landed on vacuums. It's the least sexy product I can think of.
Well, even better, you'll sell even more vacuums with the whole backstory and then how it's built and who the founder is and why this suction is better and like all the things. Because I mean, even just an interest media, it's going to hit somebody, and it's going to hit somebody online who finds it interesting and actually wants to buy into the full image and product as well. So I'm with you.
We're at the part of the show called Rapid Fire Takeaways. We're going to ask you a simple question, and you are going to return with one word answer or 2 words. This is a minimal answer. Okay, I'm going to start.
Okay.
One channel that you would double down on today.
Substack.
Brilliant
answer.
Okay. Brilliant answer.
Actually. Okay, so one metric that actually matters.
Word of mouth.
One growth myth you strongly disagree with.
One growth myth I strongly disagree with. You have to keep hiring in order to grow.
Okay, the last one would be one piece of advice for marketers listening.
Have fun.
Right?
Best marketing is fun.
Isn't that why we
Correct.
decided to get into this field? I remember when it was
Into
fun.
marketing, yeah.
I think we all forgot along the way that all of this is supposed to be fun, and the best marketing is fun because it's interesting and
Right.
people
And
can
it's
feel
not
that.
forced, yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
forced. So my advice to everyone, if you want to become an amazing marketer, is to enjoy and have more fun in what you do. It's not that serious half the time. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Okay.
We really appreciate it. You're awesome.
Yeah,
gosh.
thanks so much, Contessa.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so
Of
glad
course.
that we had an extra member join also on the podcast today. The star of the show.
The star of the show.